Hello there. This is going to be a pretty short video compared to my others because I'm very tired. I ran errands today, and the reason I'm doing this video now is because I'm kind of dressed up and I wanted to show off my new cute outfit to you lovely people. That's pretty much the only reason I'm making this video now. Anyway, it's been a day, it's been a week, it's been a month, but not for bad reasons. Me and my family a week ago got back from FileFest, which was the huge X-Files convention at Mall of America in Minneapolis. And my spouse and my child and me have always wanted to do a cross-country road trip, which we did. We drove all the way from Alabama, southern Alabama, to Minneapolis, Minnesota. It took us 4 days to go there and come back. And it was a ball. I met Mitch Pileggi. My daughter made a alien rubber duck and gave it to him, which I thought was just amazing. I also met Annabeth Gish, and she loved my artwork, and I'll cherish that memory forever. Also, Annabeth Gish has a beautiful voice, which is something I just realized when I met her face to face. So I met them, had a ball, met some other X-Files fans, some I knew from online, and some I made new friends. I watched Fight the Future on the big screen. That was an experience. Saw Mall of America, saw the Nickelodeon theme park. They have a Backyardigans a ride, like a swings ride, and I was like, holy shit, that's a deep cut. And just saw the country. I drove through some beautiful country, which I've never been to before, and it was just a blast. So that's my kind of short review of FileFest. I want to make a video about it like later on, but today I wanted to talk, since it is the X-Files 30th anniversary, I put a poll out on Twitter, and I said, like, I want to review a fan favorite of the X-Files, an episode that's big with the fans. A lot of fans say like it's their favorite or it's in their top 5 episodes, and the poll surprisingly showed the season 6 episode Triangle as the winner. And when I thought about it, it kind of makes sense. Season 6 is kind of a fan favorite season of the X-Files for a lot of reasons. It's just, and yeah, there's some bangers. There's like there's Rain King, The Unnatural, Triangle. And Triangle's one a lot of people talk about for one specific reason. Usually it's why it's people's favorite episode, and we'll get to that in just a minute. As an X-Files fan, Triangle never did it for me. And I know it's because I'm difficult that way. And I got several reasons why I don't really like it. There's parts of it that are slamming, like, and I can see why it's a lot of people's favorite episode. So let's talk about it. I wanted to sing a Triangle song, but there's not many great songs about triangles. Most songs are about circles or squares. But there is a song called Sin Triangle, and I don't so much like the song, but someone on YouTube did a Warrior Cats map, a multi-animator project, or it might have been an AMV or a PMV, I'm not sure. But it was about the Warrior Cats character, Hollyleaf. And I love Hollyleaf. Hollyleaf is very much the Scully of cats. Would that make Squirrel Flight the Maggie Scully of cats? Well, anyway. If you're a Warrior Cats fan, you'll get all those references, I'm sure. Anyway, if you're a Warrior Cats fan, or if you're not, check it out on YouTube. It's called Sin Triangle. I don't remember the animator, but it's slamming. It's about Hollyleaf, who I love, so yeah. Anyway, we're not going to talk about Warrior Cats today, and we're not going to talk about geometry or trigonometry, thank God, because I am terrible at math. We are going to talk about the X-Files Season 6 episode, Triangle, or as I am calling this vlog, Mulder, you tried angle. Because Mulder does nothing in this episode. I'm sorry. And it is a Mulder-centric episode. It focuses on him, and he, goddamn, does not do a fucking thing. I shouldn't even call it Mulder you tried angle. I should call it Mulder you didn't try angle. So, the cold open of this episode is possibly the greatest cold open in the entire series. Usually, the X-Files will have a cold open and they'll kind of like set up the episode before the opening credits. It's usually like leaves you with a cliffhanger. It invests you in the story. It lets you know like why would our main characters be interested in this. Sometimes they're extremely philosophical. Sometimes Mulder and Scully will just be fucking saying poetry in these cold opens. And the cold open of Triangle is less than 2 minutes long. All it shows is Mulder amidst the wreckage of a smashed boat floating face down in the Atlantic. And I fucking love that. It's just like it very much shows not only what this episode is about, but what the entire series is about. And that is Mulder is a man with zero self-preservation instincts. And if it wasn't for his hot girlfriend, he would be super duper dead. And that's what this episode's about. So then we get the opening credits. And then Mulder is pulled aboard this luxury cruise liner called the Queen Anne. Only the Queen Anne disappeared into what is called the Devil's Triangle during, well, right before the onset of World War II. So, the Devil's Triangle it's like the Bermuda Triangle. The Devil's Triangle is to the Bermuda Triangle what Mountain Dew Code Red is to Mountain Dew. I think that's the best example. It's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle, but like more intense, I guess. Like those fucking terrifying Mountain Dew, different Mountain Dew flavors. I love Mountain Dew Code Red because I'm trash. Okay? And it's bad for you, kids. Don't fucking drink it. I have like one Mountain Dew Code Red a year when I go to Taco Bell. Another thing I love that's horrible for you is Taco Bell. I went to Taco Bell today. So there you go. That was my one trip for the year. I did not have a Mountain Dew Code Red. I had a regular Mountain Dew. So Mulder is pulled aboard this ship by these British sailors. The entire first 10 minutes of this episode is just Mulder beating up people or being beat up by people, and it's just fucking fantastic. So, the sailors haze him with some very, what I am assuming, 1930s British slang. A lot of it I don't understand. At one point they call him a bloody jackal, which is pretty wonderful and very on point considering his name is Fox. And foxes and jackals are kind of related, maybe. And I think jackals are more like more closer related to dogs, but whatever. So anyway, they pull him aboard the ship, and they haze him, which is great. And Mulder has been sucked into an alternate dimension. He is in AU X-Files land. 1939 AU X-Files land, and he is aboard this luxury cruise liner called the Queen Anne. But not even that, the pressure of being sucked into a parallel dimension can stop Mulder from evangelizing his fucking crazy beliefs to the first person he sees, these sailors. Immediately he's saying like, oh, you know, this is the year 1998. And like, he references like, the scandal, the quote scandal in the White House at that time. Also, it really makes me wonder exactly what's going through Mulder's head at this point. Because, like, what does he think these people are? Like, does he think they're just actors on this boat and they're just pretending it's 1939? Also, Mulder went into the Devil's Triangle looking for the Queen Anne ocean liner, which vanished in 1939. So his way of thinking is, yes, this is a parallel dimension in 1939, the world of 1939. So why would he be trying to explain that to these people? Instead, he should be like, oh, I'm from the year 1998. It's not going to sound any less crazy than Mulder usually is, if you're worried about that. Anyway, they take him to the captain. And one thing you learn about this episode is it is a parallel timeline to the X-Files dimension we know of. What I am calling from this point on X-Files 616, referencing the Marvel universe, like Universe 616 is the one we usually read about in the comics. So, what you learn is that the characters in the main cast of the X-Files have counterparts in this parallel dimension: Scully, Skinner, Krycek, etc. Except for the captain of the Queen Anne. And that is very interesting. My theory is he's Scully's dad. And of course they could not get the actor Don Davis to play the role, which if they had, that would have been fucking amazing. My reasoning for this is he's a captain. He lives and dies with a lot of honor. And he bitch slaps Mulder several times. Which is something I think Scully's dad would have done. He's like, oh, you're getting my daughter into what? And then he's just like, no, you're not. Like, again, a whole episode where the Scully family just tag teams Mulder and they're just beating him up and shovel talking him. That would be wonderful. So, the Scully family low-key hates Mulder. Like, people are all over the place with like, oh, the Scullys love Mulder. He's their adopted son. I'm like, they probably hate this guy. Okay. So, the captain bitch slaps Mulder. It's great. Then Mulder goes to a map and like, is just spouting his insane theories, which is hilarious and also kind of sad that like, even when Mulder crosses into this parallel dimension, no one will believe him except for one person who is actually Scully. We'll get to her in a minute. So the sailors kind of just leave him there, which I don't understand. Like, the captain knows this guy's super sketch. Anyway, Nazis have invaded the boat. So yay, there's Nazis in this episode. Season 6 of the X-Files just fucking loves to put Nazis in the episode for some bizarre reason. So, Mulder, turns on the radio. He hears a very bad voiceover for Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And then he goes out in the hallway, and who should he meet but 1939 alternate timeline Krycek. Not even traveling into a parallel dimension, which I'm sure has liquefied Mulder like the characters in Into the Spider-Verse. But not even that can stop Mulder from attacking Krycek on sight. I love that about Mulder. Like, no matter the situation, if Mulder so much as feels Krycek's presence, he will seek him out and beat the shit out of him. So, alternate timeline Krycek is on screen for like 2 seconds. Fuck you, Chris Carter, who wrote this episode. And he takes his clothes. Of course, Krycek's working with the Nazis. Of course he is. He takes his clothes. I'm assuming Mulder sees alternate timeline Krycek naked? Question mark? It's not the first time he's seen him naked, right? It's the first time he's seen this version of Krycek naked. And Mulder's dressed as a Nazi. So Mulder is really good at executing a brilliant plan and following every step perfectly except the critical step. So when the Nazis see him, instead of like pretending to be a Nazi officer and like pretending to have a German accent, I guess, he runs. And of course that looks suspicious. The Nazis are like on the lookout for suspicious looking people. So they chase him and they capture him and they take him to see the smoking man, who is a Nazi in this dimension. Shocking, I know. Mr. Skinner is also a Nazi. Yikes. Mitch Pileggi's German accent is so terrible. It does a 180 and becomes hilariously awesome. I want Mitch Pileggi's German accent to be my ringtone. That's how bad it is and how much I love it. Also, Jeffrey Spender is a Nazi officer. It's really cute how Chris Carter took characters like Jeffrey Spender, who was really important at that time in the show, like, and he was so important, he made him a alternate dimension doppelganger, 1939 doppelganger, And then Chris Carter, like, gets tired of Spender in 2 seasons and less than 2 seasons and kills him off because Chris Carter's a bad writer. And speaking of Chris Carter's bad writing, Chris Carter wrote this episode. This episode reminds me a lot of the episode Red Museum, and that Chris Carter's writing is just all over the fucking place. Like, they're like, oh, we have to go into the Devil's Triangle, and they're like, oh no, we have to find this weapon called Thor's hammer, and then they're like, oh no, we have to find the scientist that creates Thor's hammer, and they're like, oh no, we have to get out of the Devil's Triangle. Like, it's very clear Chris Carter did not know the direction he wanted this episode to go in. It is as directionless as the Queen Anne in the Devil's Triangle. Yeah. So, Mulder's also just crying out, Skinner, Skinner, why are they doing this to me? Which is kind of adorable. So, then you flash back to X-Files 616, the dimension we know, and the lone gunmen have come to see Scully at her demotion job at the Hoover building. At this point in the series, Mulder and Scully have been taken off of the X-Files and made to do, like, background checks, like grunt work as a punishment, because of their shenanigans in Fight the Future, I suppose. Scully is sitting at her desk in, like, the bullpen area, and she says to the lone gunman in a very bored and nonchalant voice, hey, what are you guys doing here? Which means the lone gunman probably come to her desk once a week to bother her. Like, she's so used to it by now. So they tell her, like, oh, guess what? Mulder's in danger. Scully doesn't even ask, like, well, how did he get there? Like, why was he doing this? She's just like, well, I guess I gotta save this motherfucker's ass. She's so fucking desensitized to Mulder shit. A lot of people talk about how hot, desperate Mulder is, like when he's desperate to save Scully. It does not hold a candle to desperate Scully wanting to find her man. The episode, Within, Without, where Doggett is introduced, she's very desperate and hot, but not in the usual desperate and hot way. Colony Endgame is another episode. This episode gives off heavy Colony Endgame vibes. I guess because there's a lot of spooky ships and, like, people doing spooky shit on ships. I don't know. Spooky shit on ships. That could be the title to this video. Like, spooky shit on ships. I'm pretty high right now. So, Scully goes to each person in the Hoover building, it seems, asking for the coordinates of this ship, of Mulder's ship that was lost into the Devil's Triangle. She goes to Skinner. She lets Skinner fucking have it. She's like, oh, you're gonna pretend not to be me and Mulder's friend now? Okay, fuck you. Skinner's kind of an asshole in season 6. I just, like, realized that on rewatching this. She goes to assistant director Kirsch, who, Scully, really? You're gonna go to Kirsch? It really shows, like, how desperate she is, like, trusting him. Also, Kirsch's secretary judges Scully pretty hard, and fuck her! Like, oh, really, woman? Okay, whatever. You're working for mean James Earl Jones. She goes to Spender in her and Mulder's old office and threatens to beat him within an inch of his life, which is great. She calls him a little weasel. Scully has no love lost with Agent Spender. And he's pretty fucking scared of her. Spender calls the dogs, Kirsch's people, on Scully. She escapes through the elevator like a little cat. And then she sees Skinner. He has the coordinates for her, of course. Of course Skinner's gonna be a bro and help out his son Mulder. And then Scully kisses him. So, a couple things. It is one fucking hell of a smooch. Wow. It's nice. You can interpret it whichever way you want. I have never shipped Skinner and Scully because I don't see their relationship as anything but, like, platonic, like the love between a father and a daughter. But one thing I will say is seeing Skinner, like, red-faced and stammering and embarrassed after that smooch is just fucking adorable. He is so red in the face. He's like, oh, what do I do with this? And yeah, I also want to point out how Skinner and Scully smooched before Mulder and Scully. So to all the to all the people who hate on any ship that isn't Mulder and Scully, I just want to throw that out there for you. So, she gets the coordinates from Skinner, and she runs into the parking garage, and the lone gunmen come and pick her up in their, what is it, RW bus? VW. What am I saying? I am so tired and high right now. In their VW wagon. They pick her up, and they just get the fuck out of there. Also, does Skinner, like, what happens? Like, Kirsch still remembers Scully doing that. Like, being sketchy and looking for these boat coordinates. Does he just, like, fucking forget about it? The true X-File is how Mulder and Scully were not fired in season 6. Because Kirsch, like, talks mean to them, and he's like, you're on probation, and then, like, they go off and do more crazy shit than they do when they're on the X-Files. So figure it, make it make sense. So, Scully piloted the boat to find the Queen Anne. Not a doubt in my mind. When you see her and the gunman come upon the Queen Anne, also, how the fuck did they find this ghost ship? I don't know. Like, you don't see anyone else on the boat but her and my three boys. The lone gunmen are very cute in this episode. In season 6, Scully starts to have, like, sibling adventures with the lone gunman, and I love that. That's just it's so fucking wholesome. Scully really did steal Mulder's friends, didn't she? They come upon the Queen Anne, and all the lights are on, and I'll say this, like, Chris Carter, you're an awful writer. Your writing's terrible, but your directing, sometimes it hits shit. Unfortunately, it's not in this episode. The camera work is it's like following the characters around. It's like a first-person POV. Like, you're holding the camera and following them around. And it keeps doing the thing like it does in Never Again, where the camera's, like, spinning you around in a circle. And it just makes me nauseated. It makes me feel like I just got off the swings at the fucking Peanut Festival in Dothan. If you live around Dothan, I guess you'll get that reference. If you live in Southeast Alabama, the Peanut Festival is fucking everything. It is our autumnal festival. Like, everyone and anyone goes to the Peanut Festival. So, the Peanut Festival is also a ton of fun. If you're ever, like, in this area in Southeast Alabama, check it out. Like, if you're ever here around November, it's slamming. It's great. So, there's also a recipe contest where, like, you have to cook with peanuts, and I've always wanted to submit to that because I love peanuts. Whatever. Also, if you have a peanut allergy, maybe don't go, because even, like, finely ground peanuts are in the air. Like, you'll inhale it. I swear to God. Actually, that is a joke. I'm pretty sure it's safe to just go as long as you don't eat anything, because, I mean, everything and anything has peanuts in it there. I think even the corn dogs have peanuts in them. They're fried in peanut oil, I know that. So, what were we talking about? She gets on the ship with the lone gunman. They're looking for Mulder. It's strange that the lights are on when they approach it, but when they get on the boat, nobody's there. Like, I don't understand how the timeline magic worked for Mulder and not for Scully and the lone gunman. Meanwhile, Mulder goes to the engine room and finds Assistant Director Kirsch's 1939 doppelganger chained to the engines. It's very uncomfortable. The actor, James Pickens Jr., who plays Assistant Director Kirsch, has a Jamaican accent, and it's almost, but not quite as bad as Mr. Skinner's German accent. It's close, but not quite. It's close, but no cigar. And then Mulder goes back up, and one thing that a trope in the X-Files that I don't think gets enough attention is when Mulder is thrown into a situation, a paranormal occurrence like this, that he has prepared for his entire adult life and he wholeheartedly believes in, and he doesn't do anything. Like, he's a bump on a log. He does that in Dreamland. That's a good example. Yeah, like, he does it in How the Ghost Stole Christmas. It's just like, it's just like, I've gotten everything I want and I don't know what to do with it. It very much shows how Mulder can't think on his feet. I guess you could say he convinces 1939 AU Scully to like turn the boat around out of the Devil's Triangle, but then Scully, even the parallel dimension version of Scully, ends up doing all of Mulder's fucking work. I mean, like, some things never change, right? Even across the X-Files verse, some things never change. You know Scully's going to be doing all the fucking work if anything gets taken care of. They take Mulder to this ballroom on the ship. It's giving off heavy, like, Overlook Hotel vibes, which I just love. That's wonderful. And he sees these rich British people dancing, and one of them is not a British person. She is 1939 AU Scully. And, okay, let me just break down 1939 AU Scully. It is the reason a lot of fans count this as their favorite episode, and I can see why. So she's got these tight 1940s starlet curls. And then she has on this beautiful wine red dress, this little like fur cape spread around her shoulders, bright red lipstick, bright red nail polish. And all 1939 AU Scully wants to do is punch bitches. That's all she wants to do. She is always down to fight. She is so scrappy. All she wants to do is punch bitches. So you see that side of 616 Scully, like the Scully we know. But I believe with her being in the field she's in, like the FBI and the medical field, she very much has to suppress those more intense emotions of like anger and rage. But I would love to see 616 Scully just go the fuck off and punch bitches like her creepy AI simulation in Kill Switch does. That'd be great. I'd love to see 616 Scully just go off and start punching Nazis. That'd be lovely. So that's all 616 Scully. That's all 1939 AU Scully wants. We're going to call this AU 1939, like they do on X-Men. And that'll be easier to keep track with. So Mulder finds her. He calls her Scully. Like, she would understand that. I don't know why Mulder keeps calling these people by the names he knows them by in his dimension when he knows good and well this is an alternate timeline. It very much shows how useless Mulder is in this fucking situation. So, excuse me. I did not bring any water here. So, Scully looks at him and she makes a fist at him and she says, "How would you like to see the stars and stripes?" That's pretty great. Also, this singer in the ballroom, I thought she was supposed to be the AU doppelganger for Marita Covarrubias, which would have been pretty great. But my buds on Twitter, particularly Alice, pointed out to me that it is Kirsch's secretary. And I'm like, hey, nice one, Alice. Good catch, man. So she alerts the Nazis because fuck her. And the Nazis come in and they just start shooting people. They like shoot these innocent passengers. Of course, Smoking Man is leading them. William B. Davis, I don't like him, and I don't like him as an actor, but his German accent's pretty good. It's pretty believable. So the Nazis are like interrogating Mulder because he's this super weird guy. They think he knows where this weapon, Thor's hammer, is. Oh, gullible 1939 doppelganger Nazis. So then they're going to shoot Mulder. And Scully, 1939 AU Scully, jumps in. I mean, wow, you've only known this guy for 2 seconds and you're in love with him? Yeah, some things never change across dimensions. Then there's this scene where Mulder is bullshitting the Nazis. And then they know good and well he's bullshitting them because he gives the game away to them. And AU Scully looks at Mulder like, what the fuck is up with him? And that's a look we haven't seen on Scully's face since season 1. She's so desensitized to his shit. It's great seeing her with that expression like, oh my God, this motherfucker's crazy. So after that great bit of bluffing on Mulder's part, sarcasm, these, what we assume to be the scientist, steps forward and says, I'm the scientist creating Thor's hammer, you know, stop harming these people. And then Scully steps forward and she says, I'm the scientist, you know, don't listen to this man. And she said, the man says she's with the OSS and she's been assigned to protect me. But we don't know that for sure. I like to believe that 1939 AU Scully is such a badass that she's a physicist at that time, and she's a woman. Like, she's just that amazing, and that's what I want to believe. You believe what you want to believe. So, then there's a fucking brawl. And the direction in this episode, unlike most of Chris Carter's directing, I love. I think he's a great director. To get those amazing shots and visuals. I don't like the direction in this just because of the camera work. It makes me really dizzy and nauseated. And that's just like a personal thing. But this scene with the brawl where everyone just, the sailors aboard the Queen Anne have mutinied against the Nazis. And they come in and they just start punching bitches. It's an enormous fist fight. I don't know why the Nazis don't use their guns. I guess it's at too close range. I don't know, whatever. Chris Carter writing, right? Mulder and Scully are crawling between the fighting people like two kids, and it's really cute. Mulder leads her out on the deck. Before that, Mulder and AU Scully are like going through the halls of this cruise ship. It's very creepy. It's, again, a lot like the hallway scenes in The Shining. It's got those spooky, like, uncanny valley surreal vibes to it. It really creeps me out. Like I said, Chris Carter, he's a bomb-ass director. And there's this scene where Scully and the lone gunmen are also searching the hallways in their timeline in the 616. And you see Scully and AU Scully, like, converge in the scene and go into the other person's scene in their timeline. It's hard to explain, just watch it, and they both turn around and look like, whoa, what was that? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, even across timelines, Scully's a super clairvoyant, super psychic, isn't she? And she's the only one of the doppelgangers that senses that. Also, I have some questions. So, each person in the AU is a doppelganger of the main cast in the 616 that we know, except for Mulder and the lone gunman. Where are their doppelgangers? It would make sense they're on this boat because everyone else is. That's one thing that got me. I watched this episode when I was 13. I was 13 or 14 when I first watched this episode, and that's what got me. I'm like, but that doesn't make sense. Why would they all be on this boat? Like, why aren't they scattered across this universe? And then if you go by that logic, that everyone in the X-Files cast is on this boat, where is Mulder and the lone gunman? That makes no sense. So then Mulder tells AU Scully, he's like, look, you're the only hope. You have to turn this ship around out of the Devil's Triangle. Oh, not Mulder making Scully do all the fucking work. Wow, that sounds really familiar, doesn't it? And then he kisses her. Now, I'm going to say most fans like this episode because of the kiss. They point to it as the first, like, MSR kiss. And yeah, I can see why that would be special. I don't like the kiss because it's non-consensual. All right. And it's not hot. It's gross. It's supposed to convey that famous, like, kiss between the seaman and this nurse at the end of World War II, that very famous photo, which was also a non-consensual kiss. Kissing someone without their consent is creepy and gross, and you should get punched for doing that. This kiss in triangle is not sexy at all for that reason. If it was consensual, I'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah, smooch it up, guys. And also Scully's kiss with Skinner is non-consensual too. Bad on you, Scully. Which it's also not hot, but yeah, it's not hot. Like, non-consensual kissing is not hot. And then AU Scully decks Mulder. She cleans his clock. She punches him in the fucking face. You hear it. I mean, it's like, ooh. It is so, it's like a basketball hitting the court. I'm like, it feels visceral. And I'm like, yeah, good for you, girl. Let him have it. Like, being all creepy with you. And then Mulder tells her, I was expecting the left, which implies that Scully punched the shit out of him. Like 616 Scully punched the shit out of him when he was like overstepping, when he was like past her boundaries. And I'm like, yeah, good for her. You know, what is it? Jessica on Arrested Development, she's eating a cupcake and she's like, good for her. Yeah, that's how I feel about Scully punching Mulder. So, Mulder fucks off overboard. I also love AU Scully. She just peers down at him and she's like, what just happened? she throws a life preserver, which is cute. Also, 1939 AU Scully is ripped as fuck. And I know 616 Scully's ripped as fuck, but she's always like wrapped in those little pantsuits. We don't really get to see it. And it's nice to see how ripped she is. It reminds me of being 13 and gay. So, and in love with Gillian Anderson. So, from AU Scully's perspective, she's going to tell her grandchildren about this weird guy she met on a boat one time who gave her crazy ass advice and then fucked off overboard. Like some weird ass version of Titanic. Also, this is pretty reminiscent of the movie Titanic, just because of all of the like people jumping overboard and shit and like noble captains and what have you. And I like that. Like the movie Titanic's pretty awesome. I like it. It's aged well. So then Mulder and Scully, not Mulder and Scully, Scully and the lone gunman haul Mulder's ass aboard. Oh, Scully having to save Mulder's life. That's never happened before, has it? It literally happens in every fucking episode. And then this episode is very much it's like an homage to The Wizard of Oz, which is weird because the episode ranking is like set up. It even has the aesthetic of The Wizard of Oz, but it's not a like retelling of The Wizard of Oz. But one thing the X-Files does not do is give us, as the fans, a pleasing narrative. So, it makes sense. Like, the X-Files writing, pretty fucking bad overall. And you see Mulder in the hospital bed and Scully and the lone gunman and Skinner are there. And he's like, oh, I went to this place and you were there and you were there and you were there. It's very Return of the King where everybody just like fucks into Frodo's room and they're like, hey, Frodo. Anyway, I'm calling Mulder dumbass Frodo because he's on this fucking impossible quest and he's stupid. Mulder is dumbass Frodo. That is my new nickname for him. Okay. So they meet dumbass Frodo and the lone gunmen are like, what drugs are he on? And then Langley's like, I want some. I met Dean, I can't pronounce his last name. Is it Hagulin? And he plays Langley on the X-Files. I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing his last name. Lovely guy, so funny, great dude. I met him at FileFest. That's great. And then Skinner comes in with a bouquet of flowers. It's my favorite scene in the whole fucking episode. And Skinner is so done with everyone and everything, and he's so tired of Mulder's shit that he throws the flowers down on the nightstand and just fucks out of the room. And I'm like, same, Mr. Skinner, same. He's so over Mulder's shit. And then he's like, hey, Mulder, before he leaves, he's like, hey, Mulder, I kissed your girlfriend. And Mulder's like, wait, what? And so then Skinner's like, I know, I can't believe it either, man. And then Mulder tells Scully, like, you were the only person that would believe me, like you are in this timeline. Both of them having a very toxic and unhealthy relationship that should not be put on a pedestal as the, quote, blueprint of romance. You know how I feel about that. The MSR is fucked. It's toxic as hell. So then Mulder tells Scully, I love you. And Scully's reaction is she rolls her eyes and she says, "Oh, brother." Like, she's like, "Oh my God, really? Like, this guy?" And a lot of people say, like, that's such a cold reaction from Scully. And I'm like, oh, really? Really? Like, Mulder has treated her like horse shit since Diana Fowley fucked on the scene. And she's being cold and difficult. Okay, why should she believe Mulder's being sincere here? He hasn't been sincere since Diana Fowley came on the scene. And I'm like, yeah, that's warranted. That's the episode Triangle. Yeah, get out and play your triangle. The triangle is an underrated instrument. I love it. It makes a very satisfying sound. It's also the only instrument I could play when I was a kid in school because I'm gay and I suck at instruments. So, look me up. I'm at Twitter on raccoons_dead. I am at Tumblr on Just Awful X-Men Art. I am at DeviantArt at dead/raccoons, or leave a comment here. Bam. I'm also on Instagram at deadraccoonsdrawsit. I love all you guys. If I saw you at FileFest and I didn't say, hey, I'm trying to make the Spock symbol and I can't fucking do it. I don't know why I'm making the Star Trek sign on the X-Files show. If I saw you at FileFest, hi again. I had a blast. Shout out to Kristen, who organized it. Shout out to all the people who volunteered. I also submitted some art to the fanzine and also a poster for FileFest itself, and I was very happy. Annabeth Gish signed my FileFest poster, and I was very happy. I'll see you guys. I love you guys. Watch out for ghost ships.